Good morning dears. Now we are discussing about wind pollination and how it carry out. So wind pollination is also called as anemophily. Anemophily. So next we are moving on to water pollination. So water pollination is also called as hydrophily. Water pollination, that is hydrophily. This kind of water pollination is not quite common in plants. It is restricted to some plants like around 30 genera of plants, and it is mainly seen in monocotyledons. Okay, monocotyledons plants. What is monocotyledons? Yes, plants having only one cotyledon. So it is quite seen in monocotyledonous plants, and in some cases of algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes, some of them require water to carry the male gamete and also to carry the fertilization. And in some cases of algae and bryophytes and pteridophytes, they are limited in number, so because of this reason. So some pteridophytes and bryophytes are limited in their number because they need water for carrying out their fertilization and for carrying out their male gamete. So because of that they are limited in number. And the example of plants that shows the water pollination are Vallisneria and Hydrilla in freshwater plants. Vallisneria and Hydrilla. These are freshwater plants and some marine seagrass like Zostera. These are the examples for the plants that carrying out water pollination. Okay. Not all water plants are pollinated by water pollination. Only some of them have adopted the water pollination. In the case of water hyacinth and water lily, they will produce the flower outside the level of water. So it is exposed outside the surface of water, and normal kind of wind pollination or insect pollination is occurring in these plants. So that's why we are saying not all water plants are choosing the water pollination. They may be choose other kinds of pollination like wind or insect, some others. Okay. Next we are moving on to the case of Vallisneria. How the water pollination in Vallisneria, that is the freshwater plant, occur. Okay. How the water pollination in Vallisneria occur. In Vallisneria, the female flower will be having a long slender stalk. So it will reaches the surface level of water and it will float on the surface of water. Okay, so the Vallisneria female flower will be having a long stalk and it floats on the surface of water. And also the pollen grains are also released to the surface of water. So the pollen grains will carry out by the water current and it will reaches the flower, female flower, and hence the pollination occur. Okay, so the female flower will be having long stalk and the male flower will male gamete, that is pollen grain, releases to the surface of water. And the pollen grains are travelled, or the water current will carry the pollen grain to the stigma of the flower. So hence the pollination will occur. So the chances of getting pollination is not more, because some of the pollen grains may get lost. So the pollen grains that will reaches to the stigma of the flower will get pollinated. And let's have a look into the flower of Vallisneria. This is the picture of Vallisneria plant, and in this the female flower reaches the surface of water by the long stalk, and the male flowers or pollen grains are released onto the surface of water. They carried passively by water currents, and some of them eventually reach the female flowers and the stigma. In some other cases like seagrass, like Zostera, the pollen grains and the female flower and pollen grains are inside the water, that is the female flower submerged within the water, and the pollen grains are released inside the water. So the pollen grains will travel through the water, and it may reach as the stigma of the flower. There is chances of occurring water pollination like this way also. Okay, so in case of seagrass like Zostera, the female flower is inside the water, that is submerged in water, and also the pollen grains released inside the water. So the pollination will occur inside the water surface. So in the case of Zostera, long ribbon-like pollen grain is present, and there is a peculiarity of pollen grain in water pollinated flower, because the pollen grains will not be get wet, isn't it? So it is protected by a mucilaginous covering. The pollen grains in this conditions, like water pollinated flowers, will be protected for wetting by the presence of a mucilaginous covering. And in water pollinated flowers, like the wind pollination and insect pollination, the flowers will not be showy, or the flowers are not colorful, attractive, and also it will not be having nectar in it. Okay, so there is no need of colorful flowers and attractive and nectar containing flower. The flowers are not such kind, because the pollination is not by attraction of insects or through wind. That's why the flowers will not be having such features. Okay, and next we are moving on to next kind of pollination, that is animals that are carrying out pollination. Animals carrying out pollination is also called as zoophily. Okay, so animals like butterflies, moths, flies, beetles, then birds, bats, bees are the animals that carrying out this kind of pollination. So bees are the most dominant agent of biotic agent of pollination in this case. Bees are the most dominant, they are the major biotic agent that carrying out this animal pollination or zoophily. And some primates, arboreal rodents, primates, Tree dwelling. Arboreal means tree dwelling. Rodents and reptiles like garden lizards are also agents that will cause the pollination through animals. Okay, so these are also the examples for animals that carrying out pollination in flowers. And flowers that carrying out the pollination by animals will be having certain adaptation or the specialized features in it, like large, colorful and fragrant flower. The major adaptations of flowers that carrying out the pollination by animals having large, colorful and fragrant in flowers. Fragrant in flowers and also contain nectar. Nectar. And also if the flower is small, it is clustered into inflorescence. It is clustered to form inflorescence for attracting the animals like these insects and all. Okay. So in small flower, it will cluster to form an inflorescence. Okay. And also for this pollination, the animals are get rewarded. The floral rewards are provided by the flowers like nectar, pollen grains and all. Okay. So by carrying out this pollination, the flowers will give or it will provide the rewards like nectar and pollen grains for the beetles, for these animals. Okay. And the flowers which is pollinated by beetles and also flies will be having foul odor. Okay, that's why the beetles and flies are get attracted to that flower and it will get pollinated. So how the pollination is carrying out by this kind of animals? Yes, it is when the bees are reaches on the flower, the duster, the sticky pollen grains will coat the body of these bees, and when it reaches another flower, it will get transferred to that flower. So it will reaches the stigma of the flower, they are carrying out the pollination. That's the way in which the pollination by these organisms will occur. Okay. And in the case of some other plants, the floral reward is in the manner of providing safe space for laying eggs. It is also a floral reward in some cases. The bees get, or the animals will get, many of these animals will get safe place for laying eggs. So that is the floral reward in that case. In the case of Amorphophallus, that is the tallest flower, it is 6 feet in height. Amorphophallus. The flower of Amorphophallus will be in 6 feet height. So it is a safe place for laying eggs. And also in the case of moth and yucca plant. Moth and yucca plant. There occurs a mutual relationship between the moth and yucca plant. Without one of these, it cannot be survived. So each other is closely mingled for completing their life cycle. Without one of these, it can't survive. Okay. So moth will lay egg on the ovule, the locule of the ovule in the yucca flower. So after attaining the maturity of, after the seed setting of this yucca plant, the the larvae of this moth will get released. Okay, so there exists a close relationship or mutual relationship between this moth and yucca plant. Okay, that's about the animal mediated pollination. There is a term called outbreeding devices in plants. So let's have a look into that. What is outbreeding devices? It is a mechanism within the plants itself, and as we know that the most of the plants are hermaphrodite in nature, that is the male and female sex organ, stigma and pollen, the pistil and also the stamens are also within the same plant, that is the hermaphrodites. So in that case the chances of occurrence of self-fertilization, that is autogamy, is high, isn't it? So the continuous self-pollination will leads to inbreeding depression, that is the biological reduced biological fitness of the flower, that the continuous self-pollination will leads to inbreeding depression. It is the reduced biological fitness of the flower. So the flower will try to overcome this inbreeding depression by discouraging the self-pollination and by encouraging the cross-pollination. Okay, so for encouraging the cross-pollination, the flowers will show, or the plants will show some adaptations. So that is called as the outbreeding devices. In some cases, the pollen release and the stigma receptibility is not synchronous in nature. The pollen release and stigma receptibility, it is essential for carrying out autogamy or self-pollination. So the pollen release and stigma receptibility is not synchronous in some plants for discouraging the self-pollination. Not synchronous. And in some other flowers, the pollen grains and stigma are long distance. They are situated in long distance. The pollen and stigma are placed in different positions. And some flowers show self-incompatibility. Self-incompatibility. That is, they will prevent the flower from self-pollination by preventing the pollen germination and the growth of pollen tube for fertilizing an ovule. That is the self-incompatibility. I repeat, it is the process of preventing the self-pollination by preventing the germination of pollen tube and the germination of pollen grain and the growth of pollen tube for carrying out the fertilization of ovule. That is the process of self-incompatibility in plants. Okay, that is also a method to prevent the self-pollination. And the next one is, some plants will produce unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers within the same plant. So it will prevent the autogamy, that is the self-pollination, and but the geitonogamy, that is the pollination of flowers of same plant will occur, but self-pollination within the same flower will not be occur. So that is a mechanism to prevent self-pollination. Unisexual flowers are produced. And the other one is, the last one is, in the case of papaya and some other flower, male and female flower is produced in different plants. Production of male and female flowers in different plants. Example in papaya. So it will promote only the cross pollination. The self pollination is get prevented. The autogamy and geitonogamy are prevented in this case, like papaya. So these are some methods, mechanisms that shows different plants to perform out prevent the inbreeding depression. That is, the continuous self-pollination will cause the reduced biological fitness, that is inbreeding depression. So the plants will adapt to perform these mechanism, that is the pollen release and stigma receptibilities will not be synchronous. So the autogamy will not be occur, and the pollen and stigma are placed in different places, self-incompatibility. And the unisexual flowers are only produced male and female flowers in different plants. Okay, so these are shown by different plants. Okay, so that's all about today's class. So we have discussed about water pollination and what are the mechanism, how the water pollination occur in Vallisneria and some other flower, and also what is outbreeding devices, and also the animal pollination. What are the examples for animals that shows the zoophily and all. Okay, is that clear? So the next portion will be taken in our next class. Okay, thank you.